Hey everyone, welcome back to Global Resonation. Today, we're diving into one of the biggest mysteries in history. How did the ancient Egyptians build the pyramids? I mean, we're talking about structures so massive, so precisely engineered, that they've baffled archaeologists, historians, and let's be honest, all of us, for centuries. From ramps to possible ancient concrete, there are so many theories, some you may have heard of, and some that might surprise you. Let's break down 8 intriguing theories on how these incredible structures were built. Alright, let's start with the classic image that probably pops into your head when you think about pyramid construction ramps. This is the most common theory that has been proposed over the years. It's a simple concept, right? You build a massive ramp leading up to the pyramid, and hundreds of workers drag those colossal stone blocks up the incline. This method seems straightforward and efficient. Seems logical, doesn't it? It's a method we know the Egyptians used for other large structures. They were masters of engineering and construction after all. But here's the thing. The Great Pyramid is over 480 feet tall. That's an enormous height to reach with just a ramp. To reach that height with a straight ramp, it would have to stretch for miles across the desert. Imagine the length and the angle required to make it feasible. Imagine the resources, the sheer manpower needed to build a ramp that long and strong enough to support those multi-ton blocks. The logistics are staggering. It's almost as mind-boggling as building the pyramid itself. And then, once the pyramid is complete, you've got to dismantle this colossal ramp, which seems like a whole other Herculean task. The effort required would be immense. So, while the straight ramp theory seems plausible at first glance, the logistics of it start to unravel when you factor in the sheer scale of the operation. The more you think about it, the more complex and challenging it appears. So, if a straight ramp seems improbable, how about a spiral ramp? Now we're talking about a ramp that winds its way around the pyramid, kind of like a giant ancient parking garage. This theory has some merit. It would certainly be more space efficient than a straight ramp, and it could potentially solve some of those logistical headaches we talked about. But it's not without its challenges. Imagine trying to maneuver those massive stone blocks around those tight corners, especially as the pyramid gets higher and the ramp gets narrower. It would require incredible precision, coordination, and let's be honest, a bit of luck to avoid some serious accidents. Plus, we haven't found any conclusive archaeological evidence of a spiral ramp ever existing. So, while it's an intriguing possibility, the spiral ramp theory still leaves us with some unanswered questions. Now, this is where things get really interesting. The mystery of the pyramids has puzzled historians and archaeologists for centuries. French architect Jean-Pierre Houdin proposed a theory that's as ingenious as it is controversial. What if the ramp wasn't on the outside of the pyramid at all? What if the secret lay within the very walls of the pyramid itself? What if it was hidden within its walls, concealed from the eyes of the world for millennia? Houdin suggests that the Egyptians built an internal ramp that spiraled upwards within the pyramid structure, a feat of engineering brilliance. This ramp, he argues, would have allowed them to transport the massive stone blocks all the way to the top without the need for a massive external structure, which would have been both impractical and highly visible. And here's the kicker, there's actually some evidence to support this theory. Modern technology has given us new tools to peer inside these ancient wonders. Modern scanning techniques have revealed intriguing anomalies within the Great Pyramid, including what could be passages and cavities that might have housed this internal ramp, hidden from view for thousands of years. It's like the pyramid is holding its breath, keeping this secret hidden deep within its core, waiting for us to uncover it. Could this be the answer to the pyramid puzzle? The key to understanding one of the greatest architectural feats in human history? Chapter 4. Let's shift gears for a moment and explore a completely different approach: counterweights. Picture this. Instead of dragging those heavy stones up ramps, the Egyptians used a system of ropes, pulleys, and counterweights to lift them into place. Think of those massive blocks being delicately balanced, almost like they're floating as they're raised to new heights. This method would have required a deep understanding of physics and engineering, but it could have significantly reduced the manpower needed for construction. We know the Egyptians were no strangers to using counterweights in their building projects. After all, they did invent the shaduf, a clever contraption that used a counterweight to lift water for irrigation. So, it's not a stretch to imagine them applying similar principles to pyramid construction. Alright, this next theory might sound a bit out there, but hear me out. It's fascinating and could change how we view ancient engineering. What if the Egyptians used water to help them move those massive stones? Not just any water, but strategically applied to make their work easier. I'm not talking about floating them down the Nile. I'm talking about creating a slippery surface that would make it easier to drag them across the desert. This method could have been revolutionary. Imagine this. Workers soaking the sand in front of the stone blocks, creating a muddy track. This would reduce the friction significantly. Then, using sleds or rollers, they could slide those blocks along the lubricated surface with less friction and effort. This technique would have made their task much more manageable. It sounds almost too simple to be true, right? But sometimes, the simplest solutions are the most effective. But there's some historical evidence to support this theory. It's not just speculation. There's a basis for it. Ancient Egyptian tomb paintings depict scenes of workers pouring water in front of large statues being transported. These images give us clues about their methods. Plus, we know the Egyptians were masters of water management, so using it in construction wouldn't be that far-fetched. Their ingenuity in harnessing water was remarkable. Chapter 6. A little leverage goes a long way. Exploring cranes and levers. Sometimes the simplest solutions are the most effective. While we often imagine grand, complex mechanisms, the Egyptians might have relied on more basic tools, levers and cranes. Picture teams of workers using long wooden beams as levers to pry up the stone blocks inch by painstaking inch. They could have used ropes and wooden rollers to help maneuver the blocks into position, gradually raising them higher and higher. It might seem like a slow and laborious process, but remember, the Egyptians had time on their side. And they certainly weren't afraid of hard work. This theory is supported by the discovery of ancient tools and markings on some of the pyramid stones, suggesting that levers and rollers were indeed used during construction. Chapter 7. Rock and Roll. The intriguing roller theory. Now let's talk about rollers. This theory suggests that the Egyptians moved those massive stone blocks by placing them on logs or cylindrical rollers and simply rolling them to the construction site. It's a method that's been used for millennia to move heavy objects, and it certainly seems plausible in the context of pyramid construction. But there's a catch. Egypt isn't exactly known for its abundance of trees. So, where would they have gotten enough wood to create all those rollers? Well, some experts believe they might have used alternative materials like bundles of reeds or even specially shaped stones to create the rolling effect. It's a testament to human ingenuity, finding ways to adapt and overcome challenges with the resources available. Chapter 8. Concrete evidence? The geopolymer theory. This last theory is perhaps the most radical of them all. What if the Egyptians didn't carve those massive stone blocks from quarries miles away? What if they created them right there at the construction site using a form of ancient concrete? This theory, known as the geopolymer theory, suggests that the Egyptians created a mixture of limestone aggregate, clay, water, and other natural ingredients to form a kind of concrete that they poured into molds to create the pyramid blocks. Proponents of this theory point to the chemical composition of some of the pyramid stones, which differs from the quarried limestone, as evidence. They also argued that this method would have been faster and more efficient than transporting huge blocks of stone. The mysteries endure, the legacy of the pyramids, so there you have it. 8 fascinating theories on how the pyramids might have been built. Was it ramps, counterweights, a hidden ramp, or even ancient concrete? The truth might be a combination of several of these methods, or maybe a technique we haven't even discovered yet. The pyramids continue to captivate us, not just for their grandeur, but for the mysteries they hold. Each theory offers a glimpse into the ingenuity and resourcefulness of the ancient Egyptians. Let us know in the comments which theory you think is most likely, or if you have your own ideas on how these wonders were made. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell for more mind-blowing history mysteries. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time on Global Resonation.